Welcome to our very first episode of my new series, From McGee to MacGyver, where we dive deep with creators and experts in their respective fields to explore the passion behind their profession and who they are off camera. Whether you're here for top streaming tutorials, practical game tips, or epic playthroughs, I got you covered. So be sure to like and subscribe to never miss an episode. My guest today is someone who wears a dozen hats. Most of them are red. He is a retro game aficionado, speedrunner featured at Games Done Quick, creator of the Dream Races, certified fitness instructor, co-owner of Bonsai Beats, a non-copyright music company, and also the 8-Bit Dojo creator community. He's one of the sharpest minds and kindest hearts in the creator space, my best friend and fellow innovator, GeneralAndrews. All right, so we're here. We're getting it going. All right, man. So for anyone who has been living under a rock, who is GeneralAndrews?
I'm GeneralAndrews. I chat. I will talk your ear off. And at the same time, I do different things such as working out, having shared experiences with friends, with family. I'm in a new chapter of my life, being married recently. So that's a really cool thing, but that's new for me.
Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It's actually your fault too. So, everyone blame him because now I'm off the market because he was like, you should probably talk to this gal that actually wants to talk to you, like that's probably going to be a good thing for you. And he wasn't wrong. No, that's a summary version of that. That you can get the full version at another point in time. I can tell he's already looking at me like, he's like, dude, you're behind by like 15 minutes on this podcast. Like, you need to pick it on up.
It's a podcast now. Jesus.
Yeah, it's a whole podcast. You didn't know that? That's what today is. Today is me saying, everyone, it's a podcast. Then they're going to ask you when the podcast is, and then you're like, I don't know why he said that.
So obviously, I know who Ellie is, but please feel free to tell the audience a bit about her.
For folks that don't know who Ellie is is a variety streamer on Twitch. She does a little bit of other content outside of that and has been continuing to branch out of that. But she does variety content and it switches from day to day, just like how she has to deal with her ADHD, where she goes from one thing just hyper focused and loving the heck out of it, and then okay, let's go over here, and then somehow again that same obsession, that same love, that same coziness vibe has enveloped her, and she's doing that. She also loves to do lots of things from being in D&D games and or being the DM for D&D awesomeness when she joins with folks like Steve Saylor. And she's also really big advocate for accessibility, be that for video games or be that for conventions that, a lot of us like to go to for video games. There's some really cool things that she's accomplishing out there today.
So what's it been like sharing both life and the content space with your partner?
I'm very fortunate because she's just as into it, if not more than I am, which is a hard thing for me to fathom because I've been an entrepreneur since about 2013. Some of those ventures just did not pan out for X, Y, and Z different reasons. I could rant forever. Right. Love telling stories. But since 2015 has been my Twitch journey and being an entrepreneur in that regard. She's also been doing Twitch since 2017. 2017, I want to say. Yeah. And with that being said, it's I'm very fortunate because when one of us is having a bad day, we know that the other person literally is just having that off day kind of vibe, and so we're able to kind of balance each other out, say the right things, or know what the other person is saying to try to comfort you. And it's interesting when you work in two different fields that sometimes the other person's gonna be like, you just don't understand. Right. And that's not the case with her and I. Like, obviously, I don't understand what it's like to be a disabled female. And then she doesn't understand what it's like to be a full-chested male. But, hey, what can I say? I do the best I can with my upper torso, and I bring it, to the table so people can, witness it live on Twitch, So, no, but honestly, I'm very lucky because it's one of the things that we get to share in our journey. It allows us to, like, when we want to create our schedule in our week, it doesn't always work out, but it's much more viable on a week-to-week basis, a month-to-month basis, to actually curtail our work and lives together because we work in such a similar industry.
So you and I have been friends for a long time. What is one memory from the early days that still cracks you up?
Okay, so one of my favorite ones, and for the I like to think a lot of people know this, but maybe some people are new out there. Spazzy and I shouldn't even be friends. I should have blocked his ass a long time ago. So it's one of my favorite stories to tell, because a lot of people don't realize, you know, how those things can become what they are. And what I mean is we both have very similar ways of joking with each other, but through a medium such as the internet to the performer. So that person for themselves, like for me right now, I'm live in this space and it's IRL for me. But then when I'm reading text on a screen, they're live in their IRL in their environment over there, but that medium is different. So context, clues, the ha-has, the body language that shows it's non-threatening, where you're like, oh, okay, this is great, you know, or already laughing before you can finish saying it. Oh, okay, all right, I'm in on it too now. That doesn't come through. So when Spazzy's coming in sideways, you know, the first time I meet him, thanks to this one guy, I can't remember what we call him. I think we call him Upside Down B-Man or something. But anyways, so this individual is who brought it on over. And I remember being like, yo, dude, get your boy in check or I am blocking him right now. And what was funny is, I'm not sure if it was during the stream or if it was just right after the stream. I had gotten a message from you and you were apologetic for coming across as, you know, very sideways joking, but now that I know you, I definitely understand that medium. But yeah, it was so good to me because like I was so ready to be, I'm like, nope, that's it, blocking, because I'm kind of, it's interesting when I go through where I'm very patient with people in chat versus when I'm like, nope, this is my space right now. You're not vibing. You're doing something to make it your own right now. No, thank you. No, thank you. Don't do that here. It's just that matter of time where I could have been like, you know what? No, I
still to this day have no idea what exactly it was that I said. I just remember that it was Scare Me Saturdays and that you were playing a very, very like niche horror game. And so, yeah, it's kind of funny.
I know. I wish that we could have had the clip from that. I mean, again, it'd be nice to be able to just go back to the archive of the past broadcast, be like, oh, okay, it was roughly around this point in time. We know it was a Saturday, and we'd be able to find that piece of information. But again, it would be great. Because I think again, you'd be like, oh, I get it, but at the same time, it's not that big a deal, and it most of the time isn't. But it's the timing of it, for the perspective of Scare Me Saturdays. For those that don't know what this theme that I used to do was, it's the whole point of the Saturday was for the chat or the game to scare me, because that's what the whole point of watching people play scary games is for. You know, is some people like the atmosphere. Yes, I know that. That's why there's a whole category for it, and people enjoy that. But also, a lot of people like to watch someone get scared, and so that was the whole idea behind it. And so you're on edge when your adrenaline has been going up and down all evening long. So when something comes in that's probably, you know, overall harmless, even if it can be misconstrued, it was easily misconstrued in that moment of time.
Of course. So I guess we can really bounce on to, you know, more basic questions here. How did you originally get into streaming and content creation? Was it retro gaming first, or did something else pull you in?
I always wanted to do retro gaming. Like, I was like, okay, this is going to be my thing, is retro gaming. Because when I was looking at it, it was very far and few. And the reason why is because there wasn't like a central hub for retro gaming. And the way analytics were measured back then for tracking categories was pretty bad. Right. I'm sure big companies had better access to like more details and analytics because, you know, all that backdoor handshaking kind of stuff. But for us normies out here, it was like, oh, I'm going to go to Social Blade. Remember when that was a relevant use for tracking metrics? And like nowadays, especially for Twitch, you're like, I'm not going to use that thing because it doesn't give you the information you need to make, you know, meaningful decisions. For myself, I was like, retro, okay, I'm gonna be doing retro. But at that time, I was still obsessed with MOBAs, and so I was doing League of Legends. Because like, okay, I'm gonna do League of Legends and keep on trying to go pro, because obviously you gotta go pro, dude. Why do you even play games? Like, look at him. Why does he play games if he's not going pro? Yeah, exactly. You should ask him that in the comments. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to be doing this because I was also working with a team that was practicing, every other day kind of a vibe, so we can go ahead and get better. And I was going to do retro gaming. As it started to like really roll into things, 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks in, I wasn't doing just League of Legends and retro gaming. I also decided to throw in chess. So I was doing chess, League of Legends, and retro gaming. And which one's still here today?
Retro gaming.
Retro gaming.
Yeah.
the original idea.
So what was your first, I think I'm actually good at this moment?
Now, when you say actually good at this, do you refer to streaming? Do you refer to gaming? Do you refer at life?
Well,
which one?
Strictly, I would say both, like, content creation as well as speedrunning and stuff like that as well.
Speedrunning took a lot longer than I felt comfortable behind the camera. Behind the camera, that was pretty quick. As a young kid, I was absolutely terrified of doing, talking in the classroom out loud. Talking with friends, no big deal. Even meeting kids, if there was a new kid in class, I was usually the first or one of the first individuals to go up to them and be like, hey, I'm General Andrews. Like, do you like dinosaurs? And, get a whole friendship that's lasted ever since 3rd grade from a simple question such as that. And that's much different, though, than like if you remember in class, okay, right. Devin, read the next paragraph. Then, Devin goes and reads. Okay, General Andrews, pick up right from there. And then you've been waiting for so long that you've had the tongue at the top of the roof of your mouth. So by the time you speak, it goes, and it's like, oh, and everyone in class like, and so that stuff like just racked me. So with that idea going forward, somewhere around the time I'm doing a program called the Fair Ambassador Program, we were to do both volunteer work and do customer service work. So the customer service work is where we gotten paid, and then the volunteer side of things is where we were learning a craft. And the one I chose to do was, because at first they didn't have the TV show as an available one, but I did the radio. So I got used to go ahead and I'm talking to try to entertain an audience. I have no clue how many people are listening. I would eventually get feedback from some people, but that would be only after my show was going on. It would never be live or during it because, again, it was radio. They didn't even know where I was located in the fair for the longest time. Then as time went on, I would eventually do both. I would still lean more heavily into radio because I wanted to be a sports broadcaster.
I was actually going to cover that. Yep.
Oh, excellent. And we'll talk about that later then. But then I was on the TV show that they were doing as a part of the program, and it was easy for me as long as I knew what I wanted to talk about. Totally fine. That's evolved over time where I can go ahead and talk. He knows that's something that I just do, and he's like, oh boy, there he goes again. And yep. that's how I would describe it without going any further or down any other tracks. That's how I would describe when I knew I was comfortable with it from the streaming aspect. From speedrunning, I think when I 100% felt in my own was accomplishing my first world record. Like, that's when I felt it, which is so funny because when I accomplished that one, that's a world record now that would be like almost 30 minutes slower than what the world record in that game is nowadays, right? So it's a funny aspect for myself to think about that in that regard. But when I finally also got to be on GDQ in 2019 for the Summer Games Done Quick show, that was also like the next level moment that changed things for me, where I'm like, okay, let's go ahead and do this. I belong.
Right. And so speaking of games done quick, was there ever a moment where imposter syndrome kind of crept in for you?
Thankfully not imposter syndrome, but the fear of failure. And the reason the fear of failure is there was 2 different games that I was running, which again, talk about your first ever big time showcase show where you're going to have, 100,000 to 500,000 people potentially watching you from their homes and stuff on the screens. And then maybe another 500 to 2,000 people watching you live in person. Now we had an early morning slot, like what was it, like 4 a.m. or 5 a.m. Central Time, because this was in Minnesota where we were performing, and so the crowd was on the lower side for like the 500 people in the audience or less, and then for the online crowd it was somewhere between like 60,000, 65,000 and 100,000, something like that. And so the two games that we're running were Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers and then Turtles 4 Turtles in Time. Now, Turtles 4 Turtles in Time, there was a glitch that we really wanted to showcase so bad, and because it had never been done before on the big screen, and we wanted to be able to do that, right? But besides that, we knew we could still complete the run. Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers, though, the way that we did the run and the types of skips and stuff that we had to do, you do a lot of death abuse. Well, death abuse means that you're using up 1-ups. Now, when that happens and you start running low, you have to complete the game, though, with both characters alive. They can both be on their very last life. That's okay. But they both have to be alive. So that stress of like, what happens if we go off the rails here? That definitely crept in more so than imposter syndrome. Thankfully, that never was a thing.
That's really good. That's really good. Yeah, I mean, and me being a part of it too, I mean, it's definitely a very stressful situation to, jump into, especially if you've never been a part of a big event like that, that's, done in such a huge capacity. That's really cool that, that wasn't something that really got in your head, that you got in your own head about. Speedrunning is so niche and yet has such an incredibly passionate community. What draws you to it versus, like, say, traditional gameplay?
Again, if you go back to me referencing the League of Legends earlier, I just liked that competitive aspect. Now, speedrunning, there's only a few games that they actually do, and I have to look now. It's been a little bit since I've updated myself on what games they actually do, like, cash tournaments for, but Celeste is a good example. That was, like, a game that, like, took speedrunning in a sense where they do big money tournaments for that game. But most of the time, why are you doing it? You're doing it because you want the game to have more people know about it. You're doing it because you love playing that game. You're doing it because you want to now showcase it on a bigger stage, like let's say a GDQ, or maybe like for myself, that I've been trying to do is create like a baby to medium stage for folks on the dream races. Is that you want to be able to showcase your skills, and so for me that's what was so good about was the competitive nature, and I can be competitive with the time. I go a little bit faster, and that's a new PB. So just like a new PR for working out, like, you know what? I only did 5 pounds more, but that's 5 pounds more than I've ever done for that. Whoa. That's where that came from.
Right. I mean, for me, coming from traditionally a FPS background and jumping into the speedrunning community, because I just remember like when it finally clicked, because I tried, as you know, to do something like a Dark Souls 3 run, right?
Oh,
and
yeah,
it was incredibly difficult. And then
so fun later
on, and then later on, I was like, I'm just gonna, I got burnout really quickly because it was just so difficult to accomplish that. So then I transitioned, years down the line. You were like, just try this one out, Spaz. And so we did Steel Assault, and that's when I jumped on that, and I just was automatically hooked and loved how like simple and easy the mechanics were in the game, and how I could easily like pick everything up. And there's still, difficult little tricks in there, sprinkled in, but it was just easy enough to start to really dip my feet into that community. And now I'm like, I can't wait to learn another one. So what do you believe has been the most impactful thing that speedrunning has brought to the game industry?
Oh my gosh. The most impactful thing is the fact that I'm relevant. Isn't that important? Well, for me it is. Okay. What it's really done, in my opinion, is it's created an environment of, I'm not sure if people remember this. I like to hope people do, but individual, what are they called? Not medleys, individual ILs. What's the L stand for, though? Why can't I think of it? Individual level, maybe that's what it stands for. But the idea behind it, just like if you remember like Mario Kart 64, is that maybe you're not beating your friends, but then you still gotta play, and you guys set these times on these laps, right? And you gotta beat the in-games record at that point in time. And then you go, because like back then when we were growing up in the 90s, we didn't have all these in-depth online boards that were easy to identify if you didn't type the exact correct address in there, right? You couldn't find it. So you could compare times and stuff like that, but you had it on your system. and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm accomplishing something. So with speedrunning, with its relevancy towards gaming and why it's so good, two things. First off, it's requiring devs to have to actually go back and quality control their game because they didn't make sure that you could go ahead and use all your weapons at the same exact time. They didn't think someone was going to decide to hit all 8 buttons on the controller at the same moment in game consistently enough to actually exploit the fact, like, oh, I get to fire 14 missiles and 22 bullets at the same time. That boss is easy because you were supposed to. They were assuming like, you're only going to use one. You're going to see that you switch to your grenade launcher, you switch to your machine gun. What do you mean you pulled all of them out at once? No. So there's the quality assurance side of that. Now, speedrunners don't like it when the devs fix it because it takes away their exploit now. But again, that is still a good thing overall because a better quality of life, in my opinion, for the games. But secondly, what it has done is it's created the want for games to have a particular flow. So some games are made now with speedrunning in mind because some games are so much more satisfying with the combination of how the OST works and how the movement through the levels work. Again, not all games are going to design like this because some want to be more of an immersive experience that want you to slow down, take it all in, look at the entire amazing expanse they made. It's a real sunset. Oh, you know, all that kind of stuff happening versus other games. It's like the way you jump through a level and how you move around a bad guy. You destroy a bad guy and you're going through it. And again, sometimes it's to the beat and there's something that's so rewarding about that. And then it gets people talking about it too. When people are excited about a game because it just has this energy to it, they start having the word of mouth. And that's the strongest component of anything, is when the word of mouth is just going from one person to the next. And the speedrunning community, for example, has a massive word of mouth base, and it is constantly underutilized every single day. These indie devs, AAA is going to do what they do because they got these big old pocketbooks and they come up with these weird ideas of, well, we already own 14% of the market, so we should only spend this much on this. But what matters are you folks that are similar like us as entrepreneurs. Don't miss out on your chance to make an impact on your game because you didn't take advantage of the biggest. You want organic? Don't cold email me. Don't cold email me. You want to play my game on your stream? No, I don't know you. You haven't talked to me. And that's fine. You don't think you need to, but you want your game to be successful. You might want to develop a little bit of a relationship because that person's worked so hard for them to have a space that allows them to showcase games and be able to actually have income that allows them to live their lives. That there might be some real estate that you're encroaching on, and you thought, oh, well, I'm just giving the game for free. Mm-hmm. Our game catalogs are so backed up since 2008. Are you kidding me? I have so many games I've still yet to play. So Steam Fest sale, let's get another 25 games for $13. Oh my God. So speedrunning, indie devs, you take advantage of it ASAP before it gets completely taken over by the big dollar, because you have an opportunity to capture an audience organically, and real organics, not your fake cold emails. Well, we don't want to pay people stuff because we were thinking what you do is organically and stuff. Get that out of here. Stop trying to take advantage of people's successes so you can get a little success. Come to the table with something, and you're gonna find out how many people are reasonable. But be reasonable yourself too when you have these expectations.
Exactly. So for me, I guess to kind of double back on this question a little bit, I think you
got me riled up.
Oh yeah, I know. But yeah, I would say that speedrunning has also kind of revitalized the retro community. So a lot of those old titles now are receiving updates and mods and things.
So yeah, that's a great thing that you brought up there. So there's numerous different ways we can talk about that. So obviously there's the mods and we're talking about mods for modifications of the game, not moderators. Right. But modifications of the games where maybe you're just taking advantage and having a different skin. So now you're playing Mega Man, but you're playing Mega Man as like Raphael. So you're throwing ninja stars instead of shooting lemons. Okay, cool. That's fun. Or reskins the levels so they look like something just completely out of someone's, dream that you had the night before. You're like, what do you mean that there's waffle castles? Right. And so there's that part of it. But then, like you're talking about, it does numerous first things on revitalizing the game. So it keeps the game alive because you got game companies like Nintendo who, for some reason, are so protective of their IPs and stuff. They're not going to reproduce the games unless they're going to charge the X amount of things. Oh my God, you guys suck. Anyways, point is,
and that's money on the table too.
Yeah, there's so much money on the table, and for being so greedy, I don't understand why they take what the stance they do. That's another day, another topic. It keeps these games alive, and people, these are core memory games for so many folks that then bring other people who weren't even alive during any of the console's main generations, right? Your NES, SNES, I'm going to use Nintendo for simplicity's sake today. NES, SNES, N64, right? Which there's still tons of consoles in between the 64 and today's Switch 2. Is that those people like, I want to go back and try those out now. Why? Because they're seeing through speedruns that they've seen these games. But then these companies are also noticing that these IPs are still so damn strong because they're being played all over the place. They are re-releasing the games with a new skin to it, right? They're now they're going to release it on the Switch, and they're going to go ahead and they're going to cheapify it or something like that, right? And there's going to be a couple of different quality of life changes they added to it too, but pretty much they took a game they already had, they added it to the kind of engines they work with nowadays, and it was just boom, easy money in the bank. Shorty, what you drink?
Just had to get it in there. Had to say
oh,
it.
folks, I'm telling you, any of the oldies that are watching this right now, which is just nobody, because this is YouTube or something like that. Dang it. I'm too old now.
So you briefly touched on this. We're going to kind of transition now into like a little bit more personal, side of things and how those kind of affect you as a content creator, speedrunner, retro gamer, you name it, right? So this could be a whole other episode entirely too.
Oh, good.
But
folks, this is 24 episodes. Stay tuned.
Yes, yeah, exactly. So I wanted to actually talk about, you are a certified fitness instructor. That's a side that most people don't usually associate with gamers. How do you balance the two worlds?
How do I balance the two worlds? What I do is I punch the crap out of both of them and then make this like completely mishmash sandwich, and then we call that balance. Yay.
It's beautiful.
Use a cool graphic for that, go back and post and make me look cool. Okay. So, the balance for it is, because for myself personally, this is not how I expect other people to do it, but for me, what's created success in balancing the two, because it's not easy, is being regimented. For me, I find that to be easier. Now, I don't do everything by the exact minute or second, because again, it's about balance. Otherwise, I will lose my mind, because that's why I don't work for the man anymore, is because those kinds of things just add an extra layer of despair. Because it's not a hard thing to do, in theory, showing up on time every day, right? But showing not on time once, for some reason now, you are the worst person there ever was. Ever. And realistically, you screwed up, and that's not good. You shouldn't be screwing up, but you did. But you're not the worst person ever. But that's not typically how a lot of those individuals who are in those positions are going to talk to you. Like, hey, you need to improve on this. I've got to mark you down for this. You need to have improvement. Otherwise, you're going to continue to see demerits, and those demerits might lead to dismissal. Okay? That makes sense. That's a normal conversation, but typically it's met with a lot more viscosity, right? So with that being said, in my personal life, balancing the two of them, it's sometimes I do have to decide, do I want to sacrifice one for the other? Thankfully, because how the streaming world works, you normally start at 8, you decide to start at 8:30 that day. It's not the worst of things. Now, it is better to be very consistent with your programming if that's how you have created your atmosphere and your viewing experience for your viewers, right? Is that you want to maintain what they have as their assumed expectations, and you want to work within that bubble. Okay. Now, for working out, I have a certain amount of expectations. I like to train myself in a very bodybuilder-like fashion, and so to create the type of hypertrophy that I'm looking to get, which is trying to create muscle stimulation for muscle growth, is that I do X amount of things over X amount of intensity for da-da-da-da-da. To accomplish that, sometimes I'm like, wait, to be on time, I'm going to have to now, what am I giving up here? Am I giving up a little bit of the workout? Am I giving up a little bit of the cardio, a little bit of both? What's the combination here? And so those are things I have to weigh. And it's,
especially when you're prepping
tough
for things like major events and stuff like that as well.
And so like major events, I will now, like it's been a little bit different recently because my focus hasn't been on treating events like their own little like Olympias, so to speak. Now, again, I don't train in a 100, like I don't put myself through exactly what a bodybuilder would because I'm not trying to make myself go crazy or insane, but I would be more strict than I normally would because I'm like, okay, I know that there's gonna be lots of photo opportunities because people want to take photos. Like you finally got to see a friend of yours once a year. That's the one time you get to see them. You did it. They feel great. You feel great about yourself. You're taking a photo together. Bada bing, bada boom, bam. Now there's those photos. Well, you prefer to probably want to look your best for those photos, right? It's why you even put clothes on.
Yeah, exactly.
And so yeah, and that you want to look good for it, and you do. You always come through for those kinds of things. And same idea. So that's how I try to envision it for my working out. And so trying to prepare for those events, I put more time and effort into that. Lately, I've had to balance that out simply because that's where life is. Life's a little bit different. So I've also had to mentally, hey, you know why you're doing this for this reason. It doesn't feel good because you want to go all out because that's your style. You're really dedicated to the fitness side of things. Because I'll look at certain photos, I'll be like, whoa, that back shot, like that pose right there, like that was fire. And I'm like, I don't look like that right now. Like a lot of people aren't going to think twice, but like, Jen, you're fine, dude. You're so sexy and stuff, dude. Look at you. I love it. But like, again, you have your own perspective of yourself, and then you have an expectation. And then when you've accomplished that, the expectation for that is that like, well, I could do that again. Like, again, I wasn't starving myself to accomplish that. Like I could do that. I just need to put the time towards that. And again, no matter what's happening in your life, what's happening in work, what's happening during your workouts, it's just constantly trying to find the balance. And that might be just balancing your expectations. Like, no, take a seat back, cruise faba, we'll get through this.
Yeah, one thing that I've realized is that physical fitness actually impacts not only like my physical performance, but also my mental focus. Do you feel like that is also another big thing when it comes to like, speedrunning, for instance?
Two aspects to that. Depending on where I am in my working out versus my speedrunning, I feel like I'm much healthier about my speedrunning habits, my speedrunning.
Yeah, I mean, because you've mentioned many times before on other panels and stuff like that about how certain games, would actually hurt, cramp up your hands, or you felt like you were starting to develop things like carpal tunnel, and you're like, because of your fitness background, you knew to like back off, right?
Yes, correct. No, carpal tunnel was not what I dealt with. Thankfully, that's our good friend Luxon Phoenix.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure he's been diagnosed with that as well. For me, though, it would be of a similar idea, but instead it was the overinflammation of my tendons from constant repetition, mashing the fire button. And what it was doing is creating the tendon to separate from the bone, because it's so inflamed, right? And because it's becoming so inflamed, and you look a little bit more swollen. It doesn't look like anything too crazy, but the feeling, and especially when you're trying to grip and to hold on to things for pushing yourself in a weight aspect, that's a distraction. That distraction starts to take away from it, and then it's causing pain. Doesn't feel good. So you're managing these pain feelings and also this release of the serotonin and all these other feel-good chemicals because you're working out. It's a weird little muddled feeling that I would go through in the past that I don't go through nowadays, just because of how I've balanced the two of them much better than before.
Right. So speaking of balance, what does community mean to you, and how do you nurture that when you're obviously balancing so much?
Oh my gosh, the community? Who the hell are they? I know they'll love that one. So now, realistically, that's the most important aspect. That's why I joked about it. And then for those that don't know, when you're, because you might have already tuned out by this point in time, I'm sorry for those who have. My type of humor is definitely saying what is obviously not what's really happening, and that's how I deliver it. So therefore, the community that's tuned in for this video, they'll love that. But realistically, community is the whole aspect of why doing streaming. Streaming is a completely different element than other types of performances, anything that's pre-recorded is not the same as live streaming. Now, live performances, now you could speak a little bit more on this from doing your live shows for music and stuff like that. Do you also consider that to still be vastly different than streaming?
No, not in any sense personally. Now, obviously, there's the physicality of it, right? It's like the difference between speedrunning from home and speedrunning at an event like GDQ, right? But outside of that, I think that the entertainment value side of everything is still something that you're very, very, very active in.
So therefore, it's so again, the difference between pre-recorded and live, is that still fair to kind of truncate this into those categories?
Yes.
So performing live is just so different. So what's so important about that aspect is the shared experience. Doing a show, the experience you're trying to provide is through the music, right?
Exactly.
And is that telling a story? Is that getting people moving? And because they're moving, they're grooving, so everyone's having that feel-good time because of that. Maybe it's both. Yeah, that's the best of both worlds. Maybe it's because you're hot and people want to just look at you on stage because you're so hot with that angelic voice.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we know. Same idea is having fun that I do through shared experiences, shared memories, storytelling through things that are like nostalgia. That's why retro gaming has been so good to me, is that I like to go ahead and relive a lot of things we've done in the past and be like, oh yeah, that's a core memory unlocked. Maybe like when we did a small series on my show called
Remember When?
Remember When? What am I remembering, man? No, that's the name of the show. That's right. That was the segment. Yeah, that was what it was called. And when we got to go ahead and relive the never-ending story, for example, you and I were just like our kid brains had completely opened up. Everyone knows what cosmic brain is, you know, or like the Tim and Eric, you know, and then Eric's just like that kind of feeling, or like John C. Reilly, you know, and he's just going like, you know, any of those kind of things that are popping in your head right now. That's it right there. Capture that energy. That's how it felt to be sharing those experiences, because some of these things, when you think about them in nowadays context, you're like, that would never fly. But we got to experience it because at that point in time, let alone were they groundbreaking, it was also just run of the mill that it was going to happen. Now, the story itself and then what happened in the story are their own unique things. But like something that seems so like vastly crazy is that, okay, you've got a kid's movie. That's what that movie is, you know, targeted as. It's supposed to be a kid to teens movie, and then like you even had the laser nipple statues, you know what I mean, that would destroy you.
Yeah. Right.
But like, as a kid, it's like, oh my gosh, what am I seeing? And then like, you're also terrified because someone got too close, boop, you're gone. You know, reliving those kind of moments in chat and seeing how everyone experiences that. And then for anyone else out there, okay, trigger warning, trigger warning, trigger warning. Okay, I said it enough times. The Swamp of Sorrow, your favorite. You love
everybody's
that.
favorite.
No, man, the horse lovers hate it. So there you go.
There it is. So kind of transitioning now into, you know, more personal questions when it comes to content creation. What is something in the streaming world or content creation world that doesn't get talked about enough, in your opinion?
People need to realize that so many individuals on these styles of platforms will do and say things that aren't genuine or authentic. Okay, they're doing it because they want either the fame, they want the bag, or what have you. And there's so many different ways that those things can be accomplished, and there's a lot to go around, but some people take some very interesting ways to go ahead and do it when it could have been handled so much differently. Now, is that because someone's too young and they need to learn, you know, that's not how you treat people, But again, I think it comes down to the fact that this realistically is not a competition amongst one another, because there are so many different art forms and creative expressions of the different people's types of content and or channels that they run. And because of that, I think it's so much better like when it was early days Twitch, where it was the real bleed purple, not nowadays. That thing's been bled dry, right? Like that
the blood is coagulated.
Yeah, I would love for that to come back, because there was this honor and energy that just was so, not the word charismatic, what am I looking for? It felt like we were all connected together, right? We were all on this journey together. Some people would go faster than others because of X, Y, and Z different, things that they would be doing. They might, adhere to their community more, and that made them, more impactful. Maybe they did that same thing, but in a different game that just happened to have a huge player base of people that wanted to also consume it while playing. So that's another reason why. So those factors are those factors, right? Compared to, this is like any other job that people will step on you to get ahead. It happens at a stupid office job. That office, besides the fact that they're making money to have their living, most of those offices don't mean anything in the grand scheme of things. Right? They literally don't equate to anything. Think about some of these companies that you worked for as a young adult into like your early adult years, and you're like, they just process paper. Like all they did was process numbers that anybody else could process too. So like, it was vital because they exist at that point in time, but they're also easily replaceable by the same exact other company that wanted to do the same thing. And maybe someone's like, we're going to give you the contract to do that. So realistically, that place doesn't matter. Art, though, has a way of healing people, right? Art has a way of connecting individuals amongst one another at such a cosmic level. Yeah, you like that? Get a little hippie on you too, folks. On a cosmic level, that is so hard to explain to somebody who doesn't understand that or who doesn't participate in that type of creative expression. Other people might have creative expressions, but they want to keep it in the macho man world, right? I'm going to go down, I'm going to open up my 2452 Hummer, and I'm going to get down there. We're going to put that 50,000 foot Hemi inside this thing, and we're going to turn up the 2400 horsepower. I have no clue if that was anything real. I think the word Hemi is only real in that, but that it's still artistic, but they don't, at the same time, they're not viewing it like that because artistic doesn't speak to their masculineness, right? And it's like, dude, it's still art. You just, accept that you're being creative with it, and then embrace that. And so, getting back on track is that when talking about what the streaming world amongst, let's say streamers and or content creators don't talk about enough amongst one another. And again, it's not talking gossip like, oh, this person's a bad person. No, it's for yourself to recognize, hey, we're all realistically in this together. And the more that we can go ahead and help one another out, that doesn't mean you're giving out your time and your money away for free or at such an alarming rate that you're not balanced anymore, right? You come up with that balance. But so often people don't realize that the people that they're connecting with don't care. But you're trying to make a caring community. You're trying to be so connected with the individuals that are spending not just an hour of time with you, but 4, 6, 8 hours of time with you. And you've got to understand that even when you try to connect with other people and hype them up, that are you really making sure that is a safe place long term? And we've all at some point learned this, but do we talk about this enough that find these places, go a little bit further. You might have done it once before. Keep your eye on that. Like, is it actually a safe place for you and your community to go when you're not live? Because you can't stream all the time. You can't be live all the time. So when you're trying to create these safe places, you're trying to provide a safe place. Well, you got to think about the places that you're taking your people to. If you decide to do something such as raiding or shouting somebody out, either one of them, you really got to make sure you're not just doing that to do that.
Yep.
Doing that to do that is also making you seem disingenuous. You might not realize it, but a lot of people see that and will be like, I don't know. And that can be from streamer to streamer, or it can be the viewers that are seeing it's like, and then that might make them not want to tune in anymore.
Exactly.
And that's not the whole shtick of it all. You want to connect with people. If they're not tuning in, you can't connect with them. It sucks.
Well, speaking of connections, where can people connect with you, support your work, and find out more about your content?
At 555-6969. Go ahead and call it up as soon as possible, and you're going to have yourself a direct line to General Andrews and the Dream Stream.
There you go.
Oh, okay. So actually where you can connect with me, because some of you are like, actually, I'm enjoying this ridiculousness I'm seeing here. You can go ahead and watch me on twitch.tv / it's not a backslash, but I want to say it just kills me, / General Andrews. I am General Andrews on all the different platforms. I'm getting back into my social media posting. That's not just saying that I'm going live or talking about my lovely wife. But some people are there for that content too. But yeah, you can catch me on Twitter. I'm not going to call it the other name. Blue Sky on Instagram /threads. You can catch me there. YouTube right now for me, besides having this awesome appearance and experience, I guess too. That's also a thing.
That's good.
I just do archival content currently on YouTube for speedrunning, the dream races, things of that nature.
Awesome. Well, it has been a major pleasure having you on board. We had a lot of topics that we've covered, and you've even covered, as we were going throughout this, just a ton of material that I was even going to ask you. So that was really, really great. So
Cool.
Thank you so much for your time, and I look forward to having you on again. Once again, this is General Andrews, and he's one of my good friends.
Look at that. Huh?
He's the best. He's the best friend. So yeah,
you gonna tune in? Come on. Yeah.
But thank you so much, and I'll see you on the next one.
Definitely. See you, bud.
And that wraps up this episode of From McGee to MacGyver. Massive shout out to General Andrews for kicking off this new series with heart, laughs, and a ton of wisdom, from retro game roots to speedrunning greatness and real life milestones. You'll find all of General Andrews' links in the description, so go give him a follow and check out his incredible content. If you got value from today's talk, like the video, subscribe, and ring that bell. We've got a stacked lineup of creators and professionals ready to pull back the curtain and share their stories. Also, if you want to catch me live, we're on Twitch every week, where we don't just play games, we build community, grow together, and share the behind-the-scenes grind. Drop a comment with who you want to see on the next episode, and as always, keep creating and stay creative. See you on the next one. Later.